Yes.
And I'm going to double check that I am on Spotlight. So great. Okay, well, it was a quick roll around considering that we just met 3 weeks ago since I had to postpone the August one. So, you know, I must admit today I had an idea of what I was going to be working on, and my day got totally upended. And I was starting to get like, oh my gosh, what I was going to work on, I didn't have time to prep for. And I thought, this might be a really good opportunity to actually share some of the ways that I go about pulling out photographs, saving photographs, using photographs to give you, ideas of more of my thought process when I'm going through. So rather than angsting over the fact that I wasn't actually able to do a lot of prep, then I sat and spent an hour doing prep, getting that all organized. So hopefully it's helpful. I like hearing how other artists work, how they come up with their ideas, how do they plan for that, where do they get their inspiration from. So hopefully there will be some takeaways. And actually it's kind of a follow-up, I thought, to the newsletter that went out that talked about simplifying photographs. So I'll do a little combination of both here. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is get rolling. I'm going to pull up a share screen. So if you guys feel free to take yourself, put yourself on mute now. Feel free to take yourself off of mute and ask questions. I do not mind being interrupted. Oh, the light, this is a really white piece. I will be using that sheet of paper eventually. I was going to turn the other way, but believe it or not, after all the storm, I've got really strong light coming in and I couldn't get the lighting correct that way. So, okay, so let's see. Okay, somebody's got a phone message. Not me.
Sorry. Sorry.
Oh, I recognize that voice, but I'm not going to call you out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's quite all right. Okay, share screen. Okay, I'm going to go right into here. Okay, I'm going to go back a little bit and let me just move this down to the bottom so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, some of you may have seen this before, so let me pull this up. Okay, can people see my share screen or not?
Yes.
You would not be seeing me, you would be seeing something else. You know what I'm going to do? Let me,
See your
I'm going
folders.
to take myself off of Spotlight. See if that makes, you see folders? You do see folders? Okay. Okay, so what I do I have an external hard drive, and that is where I keep all my art. And part of that is because it takes up a lot of room. I don't want it on my hard drive, and God forbid if anything happened to my computer, I don't want to lose my photographs. So under pictures, I have art stuff, and real, clear terminology there, art stuff. So I have a variety of folders, and sometimes I think I'm organized until I can't find something, but I do tend to set things up by the category that I feel. If I'm looking for a painting on sunsets, or if I'm looking for a painting, well, I don't really do that many sunsets. I'm not really sure why I use that as an example. Boats, water, so the places that I go. So for instance, let me go down here just to show you for my plein air. These are plein air sites. And then what I do is I have it listed by year, and inside each year, sometimes not clearly, inside each year, I set up the locations that I've been to. Sometimes I just keep the incidental photographs that I've worked on down here. So if I'm looking for any particular photograph, what happens is I can actually recall where I was and go back to that site. So it works for me. 2020, oops, I guess it's not, there we go, 2020. Oh, wow, I don't have many things in, oh, of course I don't have anything in, I didn't go anywhere in 2020. I'm thinking, welcome to 2020 doesn't have anything. Okay, well, because nobody went anywhere in 2020. You can see 2019, I was quite busy going to a lot of different places. I'm on this kick for a short while and I go through, little series as such. So I was in water, doing a lot of water. So today what I was doing is I was looking at my photographs from Brooklyn, Maine, from the Wooden Boat School, just kind of get a feel for the different, and I like looking at these little thumbprints because what happens is if you're looking at the little thumbprint, what happens is something will jump out. Look at the composition in that one. This one really just jumps right out. You've got, and then see it big and you say, okay, yeah, that may work. But the reality of is this one doesn't look as intriguing. So I start with all these, it's a real quick way to go through the photographs. So for today, that was just an example of one of the folders. So for today, I started in my folder on water. And then what I did is I moved to my folder on boats. It wasn't exactly what I was planning on working with, but I kind of got really sucked into the idea of the patterns that were made by reflective boats. And this is the fun thing about using these folders. So I go into water thinking I'm going to be pulling up picture. I mean, I really thought I was going to be taking one of my, in the water photographs from the waves. And I'm thinking, oh, these boats, look at those reflections. So it kind of shifts a little bit. And I like that sort of playfulness of moving from one idea to the next and capturing something. So under my boats, I've got a variety of different things. And again, I've got a lot of categories. Sometimes I do take a location and put it in other places too. I mean, we're only there for a day. I'm not really going to remember it as a plein air site. I didn't paint there. And I move paintings, photographs that I think will be good as paintings into the file that says paint or paint these. Something at all that at one point triggered an idea. So these were the ones that, these were a little bit older. I had pulled these up a while ago. Don't you love the textures in this? I'm going to just talk a little bit about it's just such a textural painting. And look at, it's low tide. The only water is back here. I mean, it's just, I love the balance of this really large boat here. And there's very much of a diagonal, underdrawing, you're structured, you're under structure. What am I talking about? You can tell I have interrupted sleep last night. My brain is like, so yeah, your underlying structure. I'm always looking at the movement. So you're seeing a lot of movement that comes in here, right to the boat. You're seeing this lovely movement of these rocks that are lit and they're against the shadowed here. And then there's the change, textural and value-wise, they're fairly close, but there's a break from your rock to your, shrubs that are here on the side. So again, it's this wedge that's coming in, this line's coming in, you've got downward stroke of the building, downward stroke of the building, downward stroke. And then you've got a lot of really what would be considered horizontal in some angles, but these angles are not as strong as this one here. So this one is a really nice composition, in terms of that lovely wedge of a V. So you're coming right into this boat here. So what I would do with this is I'd probably move this this building in just a little bit on this side. You could wind up having a little bit of a tangent here because you've got a tangent is when two lines kind of intersect but the objects are separated by distance, and it's like, I mean, it can be a short distance, like even in a still life, but those edges of those objects can get a little confused on which is on top and which one's behind. So this I would probably, this could look nice if the was over a little farther, but if I was going to sketch it, I'd probably shift the building over just a little bit of a touch too, change something, since this is so, look at that little tiny wedge right there. So that was a good idea. Yeah, question?
If you go back to that one,
Yeah, sure.
the previous painting.
Yeah, just a second. Let me just got to move people around. Okay, where'd it go? Okay. Oh, geez. Oh, why is it not going back? Okay, hang on a second. Oh, there it is. Okay.
I you feel better.
There you go.
A few things from a color perspective, you know, the turquoise in the boat is in some things in the background, and it's also in some of the rocks, different, you know, different values of the turquoise, which I like. And then there's some like orangish red in the boat and a few other spots. One question I have is kind of, I don't know if it's a dock or a walkway, that white line that kind of extends like on a vertical. Would you take that out? Find that
No,
distracting.
that's one of my key things right there. That is a walkway that's going down.
Okay, you
And
like
actually, you bring up a good point. You know, when I'm looking at the photographs, and it could be hard for people to visualize it. I am not looking at the colors. Okay, I am only looking at the patterns of lights and darks.
okay,
Okay,
yeah, fair
so
enough.
because what's going to happen is, and you are right, this beautiful color here is going to be an important factor. Okay,
Yeah.
and even if you touched it up a little bit, and you could get variations of turquoise even in some of these shaded areas, a dark, a dull, more muted turquoise could be really beautiful in some of these areas. But in the initial phases, if you focus in on the directionality in a painting, that underlying structure, and where is your eye moving, okay? And then, and that's the way I start. And, you know, when I'm doing that, I'm looking at that pattern. So I've got light here, I've got dark here, I've got light here, I've got darker value here. Okay, this kind of blends, you know, squint your eyes, you're not going to see much of it. But this is what we see right here against this right here. Okay, the inside of this boat here is darker than the outside. This is a little washed out photograph, which you got to be a little careful with photographs too, is, you know, because they're not always, this is just really weird the way the, I don't know why the, I'm losing some of the, okay. Okay, hey, let me try this. Okay, there we go. Whew. Okay, here's another, you guys still there? Okay, good, because I lost you on my screen. So if you're there, great. So here we go with this one. And we have a very busy painting. So with this one here, this is going to take a lot of compositional work. Again, look at this patch of dark right here, skimming over a patch of dark right here, skimming over patches of dark here. This shadow in the front, okay, washed out shadow in here. So I could actually kick that up or down, depending on which way you look at your value bar, but I'd make it a little bit darker, not as dark as these patches in here. This is closer to me and it's in the light with, you know, shade. So it will not be ever as dark as that back there. Okay, look at the horizon line up here. Look at the line up. Look at this little thing here. Okay, this is like a little, this is something you could get really trapped into drawing in a photograph, because doesn't that red roof and that part of a red spire look nice? But it's just like, this is really awkward here. I mean, I didn't even notice it at first, because it almost looks as though it's attached to this building, of which it probably is not. So either looking at other photographs or shifting it over to the right or getting rid of it. So even though that's a really intriguing shape right there, yeah, may not actually work in the painting. So that one, I'd have to do a little bit of sketching with that. But look at, we go down, now we're up, we're going across. Okay, same height, same height. Maybe I drop this guy down a little bit. Maybe I rise him up a bit so we get this lovely movement up and down. This guy's high, that's great. So we have a little bit of a vertical, angular movement up. Okay, this one here, the color does impact what you're looking at because nothing else has this color except for that right there. Okay, so I've got either shaded on this side, which would not make too much sense considering nothing else is really dark on, well, this one's dark on this side. So this one probably is shaded. Okay, value-wise though, this is a really strong shape right there. Okay, and back down again. This guy here might be worth being left out. This little guy right there would give a little bit more height to this. And then I'm going up, and this angle here will bring us back in. Same with this, a lot of perspective in this. I do like this one a lot though. Okay, simplicity. You know what? This is lovely. I really do like the simplicity of this one right here. And you know what? I am hoping, now that I'm doing this, I am hoping that when the recording, this is going to be large. I have a feeling it might be small. When I get out of here, I'm just going to double check that. Okay. Oh, let me just go back for a second. This one I would crop. Okay, I would play around with cropping. I'm going to show you how I do this. This one I like a lot too. I play around with cropping. What really intrigued me was the sail in the reflection in the water that's moving. You know, so you get a really beautiful, it's slightly lost in this format. And that's why having something that you can use to crop your photographs. And this is the one that I chose to do for today. It kind of brought in a little bit of everything. And I'm going to bring this up in another format so that you can see that. And as I crop around it. Okay, so now, here we go. I am going to have to move you guys again. This little bar keeps getting in my way. Okay, so now I have.
When I look at your pictures, Betsy, one of the things though I think about are skills. So for example, the couple ago, the reflections, you know, they're fairly challenging. They're buildings. You have to get the angles correct. This one doesn't have as many reflections, but as you know, if the angle of the reflections is off, you know, you kind of blow the painting. So that's just something I look at, like, do I pull off? Or, you know, like if the boat is facing more towards the camera, you have to pull off, you know, that angle of the bow. So I just kind of want to mention that.
Yeah, you know, and of course that's why is you know, I'm what it is my long-term goal here is I'm going to be working on some much bigger paintings. So what I'm doing is I'm working on ideas for at a smaller level to turn into larger paintings. So and you guys know I like architecture, you know, I like all that sort of thing. So yes, if someone did not have a lot of experience with dealing with perspective, maybe you wouldn't want to take on that. But truthfully, I'd still say go ahead and do it, because you know the best thing to do is to try it and play around with it. And sometimes you do have to suspend that part of reality. If you're doing something that's representational, well, yeah, sure, everything has to be, you know, or people are expecting in something that is very realistic to have the perspective correct, to have the reflections or the shadows accurate. When you're stretching those boundaries and you're moving a little bit more towards something that has more of a, you know, of a motive feel, or something where you're really trying to spark in your own personal thoughts, personality, you can kind of like pull away from that. It's not really abstraction, but what you are is you are taking the scene and you are abstracting it into something other than representational. So what I've done, just to save time for you guys, and I am just going to go back over here to me now that I can see myself, and I am going to spotlight, because I have a feeling that the last video, the last portion there in the recording it's going to be a lot of small things, unfortunately. So hopefully this will show up large in the recording. This is the photograph that I thought I would work on. It has a lot of the components that I'm looking for. I'm looking for directional in. Okay, I have that. It's subtle. We've got nice soft edge here. Often, you can refer to it as lost edge. And look at here. Look at this lovely other shadow that's falling here. It's coming from a building dock that's here on your left, that's out of the picture zone. This is what I really love. I'm going to be able to play around, kick it up a little bit, but I can see things under the water here. Ideal for painting large is that you can start getting into some of these things that could look quite, well, for me, I would feel like in my paintings, it would look a little fiddly if I tried putting too much of this into a 9x12. If I started thinking of a 20 by 16, I could really have a lot of fun playing with the underwater aspect in here. So this is bringing me in, that brings me down. We've got a boat here, we've got another boat here, we've got another boat here, we've got all these boats back here. Do we need them all? No. Okay, so you have to play around. I'll play around with a composition so that I can figure out what boats need to stay and go. Truthfully, right off the bat, I initially thought that I would get rid of this boat, but I do like the break of the dark over here with the dark hull and the dark reflection. It breaks up this large wedge of water here. So then I start looking in here and say, look at these boats. They really are, they're adding to the scene only in that they show that sense of crowded dock that we have in the summer. It really does create a nice break from the angular straight edges of the floating dock. So I might play around with leaving one boat in, taking the other one out, vice versa, see which works. Maybe I take this boat, slide it down a little bit so I could wedge it into this little corner. And no one's going to know whether I took a boat out or not. Back here, these railings, okay. Well, anyone who's on the dock is going to want to get off the floating dock. So they're probably going to like these railings here. From a painter's point of view, I don't need these railings here. Okay, so I will work on composition, getting rid of this. So now what's happened is I've got this lovely movement of, look at this. I've almost got a S, a Z, little pattern that's happening. This all wedges together into one. It's coming over, it's coming down, it's coming over. Well, look at that Z. Isn't that great? If you follow Ian Roberts, the oil painter, he does a lot of videos and he talks a lot about the underlying structures. I mean, if you go to, he's not the only one, but I mention him because he's, he's quite prolific with his little videos and they're free on YouTube. So he's worth checking out. So this will meet that purpose. This is coming in, I'm squinting my eyes, coming in. Oh, look at this lovely dark pattern that's here. That dark pattern brings me up. That contrasts with the light of the dock, the light of the boat. Great. Okay, I've got light. The water turns into more of a light medium value. In real life, I know that as this goes back, all this water is not going to be the same. And that's similar to what I talked about last week. What I do really like about this is the land in the background, but do I like the land in the background enough to leave it in? So this is Photoshopped elements, and I've mentioned it previously in our monthly studio times, but I don't think I've ever shown it. Photoshop Elements is somewhere around $100 just to get the program onto your computer. It's done online, and it is much cheaper than the Photoshop, which is really a professional program, and you pay a monthly fee. Truthfully, me, I don't use a lot. I wish I knew how to use all these different things on Photoshop Elements, but the key ones that I use, you know, are really important to planning out a painting for me. So that $100 or whatever it is a year is well worth it. Photoshop Elements. Okay, so photo I pulled up for you already, so you didn't actually have to see all that. I go to image, I'm going to crop. Okay, and what you can do, let me move this guy over here. Wish I knew how to switch this. Here we go, hang on, let me just. Okay, there we go. I got just myself now. Okay, last one I did was doing a square. So I can put it in a square format, or I can do no restrictions. This one here, I know it's going to be fairly large. It's not going to give me a large one, but I am going, if I did an 8x10, that is compatible with a 16x20. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see what happens. Okay, so I go up here. What's really nice is it's going to gray out the area around it. Okay, look at here. I still have a lot coming in. Ooh, what's happening with the boat? Who sees it? That boat's smacking right, that's right smack in the middle, right here. That's the middle of the paper. So this happens if I move this down. Okay, now it's up. I'm seeing the reflection there. It's not quite in the middle. It's not as obvious. These are going to be more subtle mark making, soft edges, more subtle, not pronounced, bright colors in the reflection. So that one may work. I've got a little bit of the background, but I really don't have much of that sky that's in there. Let's see what happens if I pull it right down and get rid of it. That kind of changes it altogether. There's something about that band back here with that light sky. I just feel like I want to play with the color of what that sky would be. I've got that nice edge, so it breaks the water. Let's go, see, go down again. See what happens. I'm ending with the water up there, which is not bad. It's not bad. It's just I've got this idea in my head where I'm looking for contrast of shape. And if I keep in the land, I see the shape of the water. If I take out the land, I have no shape to the water except for the shape that is made by the dock. So I'm going to go with somewhere around here. Let me go up. And I'm going to slide over this way. If I slide over this way, I'm going to lose more of that boat. Remember what I said about that boat? I like the way that boat added contrast. Okay, so when I draw this, I'm going to give, I can't do it in the photograph because it doesn't exist in the photograph. So when I draw this, what I will be doing is I will be dropping this just a little bit, and I will have a little bit, well, actually, maybe I'll take out this dock here altogether, drop it. And then I'll have a little bit more of that sky that's back there. These boats will probably not be in there, but I'll do a sketch with them and I'll do a sketch without. One of the things is if you look at this in the background, same thing happened here. These boats value-wise are not far off the value of the reflected grass, the grass that's there. There might be a little bit of, you know, sandy. There's something there. Can't see it in the photograph, and I'm not actually worried about it because it's incidental. But because there's not a high contrast here, the boats may actually work out. I just don't want it to be too fussy back there because I want to keep all this action falling right in here. Okay, so if I drop everything just a little bit, then the boat's gonna fall a little bit lower. This will come here and oh, look, see, this is, you start looking, this is what happens in plein air. And this is what you should do with photographs. Anyone who's done plein air, what happens is you wind up really knowing the scene because you are standing there and you're spending a lot of time looking at it, you're drawing it, you're painting it, you're analyzing it. When we take photographs, we snap them. Sometimes we spend a little extra time and get good compositions and everything. But when you look at your photographs, put yourself in that mode of being there so that what you're doing is you're really analyzing, you know, the flow, the lines, you know, the darks and the lights and the patterns. I'm going to put a little click here. That's going to save it. I'm going to go here. Save as, and I never get rid of my original one. I always just give it another, I give it a number afterwards, and just in case I go back in and I edit again. Yes, maximum. So this is now saved on my program. Photoshop's other things it'll do, you can go in and if I felt as if these are really handy, here are the ones that, you know, you can adjust the coloring, the lighting. Smart Fix is handy if you, let's see if it'll work with this one. Smart Fix will kick up the color. See, that one wasn't that bad, so that one didn't do anything. So, okay, let's try Auto Haze Remove. Sometimes you have something that's a little muted. Let's see if that changes it. Oh, look at that. You see that? Very subtle. So now I can go there, I can hit that. That auto haze is really handy. Remember how I said, okay, so now I'm going to change that. Well, here, rather than spending all that time, I'll just put a 3 at the end of it. So now I have that one there too. This is the subtlety of photographs are often lost if you're just putting them, printing them from your printer. I've already printed out this photograph, not cropped. Isn't it funny? I'm looking at it now, I'm not so sure, but anyway, look at this subtle, soft reflection here from the building. All this that was under the water that I said I like so much. None of it's showing up in my photograph, none of it. Okay, so using, and I'm going to show you that next, using some sort of backlit device to look at a photograph when you're doing some of your preliminary work, or even, you know, when you're painting, is really helpful because you don't lose those details. There are some disadvantages, and if I forget to mention them, remind me. Okay. So here, I'm going to go out of this. Now I don't need this anymore. So I get out of that. Let me go here. Okay, I'm going to click that out. Okay, now here we go. So you saw the photographs. I forgot to show you how I go into Google Photographs, and you can like type in, I wonder if I can pull that up. Hang on a second. Okay, yeah, let me do that. Okay, if you have a camera and you download your photographs to Google, go to Google, Google Photographs, out comes the photograph. Oh, this was part of today. This is what has exhausted my brain. I am not a technical person at all. So these are the photographs to remind me how to put this system together. I was down at Falmouth Art Center for like 3 hours working with Walter on the setup for the hybrid class. So I now have photographs of everything and how I'm supposed to plug it in together. So we don't need to look at those. So once you're in Google Photos, and I wish I'd known about this like many years ago, but it was only, you know, the past year when I started doing more of this. Okay, so I'm looking for water. So I can do, and I can put in water. And what will happen, it will pick up any photograph I have taken that is in my Google photo album that has water in it. Okay, so I mean, that's like just like overwhelming. You got like, oh shoot, these would have been nice. I forgot I took these. All different sorts of things. Okay, like that's like overwhelming. Forget that, you know. So now what I could do is we can narrow that down and we could say, well, let's see if this works. Shallow water. Let's see if we get anything with shallow water. Oh, no results. They didn't like that one. Okay, how about water? If anyone's got beach, let's see what that, I don't really actually take a lot of beach photos. Oh, watch it, now we'll find a whole load of them. Oh, okay, well, that's good. So this was after the last almost hurricane we had a few weeks ago. Oh, okay, so look, now I got a whole load of these. It's narrowed it down. You know, some are, you know, all different sorts of seasons. Sometimes if I see a painting somebody's done that I like on Instagram primarily, I'll just do a screenshot and save it. Just, you know, it's just nice. I use them a lot in my classes to share with people. It'll tell you the date you took it, what year. Super handy. Okay, so I could go on and on for that. So let's say, let's narrow this down even more. So now we're going to say, oops, beach boats. Let me take care of that. Hit boats. Hit boats. Okay, so now I've got my boats. Narrowing it down. Oh, there's Stephen May out enjoying the boat. Oh, there's the boats. There's a drawing. Oh, this is the boat coming out of the water. Okay, I feel like I'm giving that. Remember those slideshows you had to endure as kids when your parents would have friends? Okay, I'm not going to do that. But anyway, it's super, super handy. Just go to Google Photographs, whatever you save in your phone, and it's really easy to upload your photographs from your phone too, but super handy. So now what I'll do, and I started doing this since I use this Padlet with my classes, and I have one where's my painting Padlet. Now I'm just going to double check over here to. Okay, and those are from classes. There we go. Okay, so here's the photograph. So now what'll happen is this photograph is now not only on my laptop, but it's on my phone through my Padlet app, and it is on my iPad. So I am going to click out so you can see Padlet. It's great. So if you're in my classes, if you haven't been in my classes yet, I know there's some people that are signed up that are here now, you'll get all the info for that. So let me minimize this and put you guys back on full speed here. I just have to figure out how to do that. Geez, how long ago was it that I was teaching? Oh, anyway. Okay, there we go. And we're going to stop share. Okay, so, phew, gosh. So as you can see over here, here's my Padlet, my iPad. Okay, and there we go. Now we all know my passcode. There's Padlet. I already have it up. There's the photograph. Click the photograph. I now can work from a photograph that's backlit, and I don't need my laptop. So it's super, super handy way to paint. So this leads me to the disadvantages of having a photo easy access. If you read my last newsletter, I talked about not getting sucked into the great abyss of copying everything that's in a photograph. So as you can see here, I'll just hold that up. You can see the photograph. Remember what I said? Look at, you can hardly see what is down there. It's really very subtle. So I kind of like working off of bad photographs, because what happens is I do not feel compelled to put in a whole load of different details that aren't important. But what does happen is, because I have my backlit photograph over here, I can come in here and I can zoom in and out, and I can actually see what is in the shallow water there. So this helps, and it's kind of like trying to blend both. And some people really, there's a security in a photograph. Clearly there's security in the photograph because you took a photograph you liked, okay? You either cropped it when you were taking the photograph or you cropped it afterwards, but you chose that photograph for a reason. So copying it kind of sounds like it makes sense. The problem with copying means that sometimes the photograph winds up dictating all your decisions and you're not actually bringing in some of your own personal choices, colors, which is why I don't think about colors when I'm doing my design work. I'm just thinking about those contrasts, the dark and light, hard edges, soft edges. You know, I'm looking at that compositional structure, how your eye moves, sizes of shapes. So I'm thinking of all those things first. When I start working on the painting, and that's on the preliminary stuff, that's when I start thinking about the colors. So when Lisa mentioned that lovely aquamarine that was on the edge of the boat, okay, where else could that show up? You know, it could show up in a variety of places. Maybe not that same strength and boldness of the aquamarine that's in full light. Maybe what you could do is you could have some, as I mentioned, some subtle muted variations of that same color embedded, you know, maybe in that, you know how water really has a very, well, of course it has an iridescent see-through sort of feel. So you can play around with that. So if you move away from the photograph, you're more likely to impose your own ideas, and then it'll, you know, I don't know, for me, I feel like it shows a little bit more personality. You know, I like color, so I throw the colors in there.
I think more my point, Betsy, which I didn't really make, is a scene appeals to me for different reasons. Sometimes it's the mood, like the fog in West Falmouth Harbor, right? Sometimes it's the emotional resonance of the place, or maybe the shapes. Like, in other words, there's something in the scene that's going to motivate me to paint it. So since I happen to love turquoise, like if I happen to be standing on the dock, that's what caught my eye and said, ooh,
Right.
You know, not that I'm going to disregard everything or plan everything around turquoise. I guess it's just more like
no, that's
fundamental question,
yeah.
like, why am I painting this?
And that's a really good point, Lisa. You know, so and that's where each artist comes in on what is it that they take from a photograph. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're attracted to a scene, the other day, Liz and I were out painting, and we were like chasing the shadow in the light. It was just gorgeous. Chasing it on our paintings, not in real light, but it was that light and that shadow and those colors that were popping out with that full sun. Absolutely, hands down. You know, it's just, if you find a target place that actually brings you into a painting, if it's color, for me, it's the contrast of, you know, dark and light and the shapes and the, you know, I'm looking at that movement there. That's what brings me in. So those 5 gazillion million photographs that I have can get narrowed down really quickly in that little thumbnail section, because all I'm doing is I'm looking for what's got a really nice pattern in it. Look at how nice that looks over my shoulder too. You know, can have a lot of fun with that. This shape down here is just great. You know, look at that shape, really nice. Now that's that there for painting wise too. We would really want to make sure that the edge of this sort of a shadow here is different from the edge that you'd have from, you know, an actual hard surface. That's water. The photograph's making it look like it's straight. Guess what? It's not. It's not straight at all if you were there in real life. So, yes.
Could you explain a little bit about why you like that shadow there so much? Because I don't get it.
That's all right. Okay, so what I say, if this shadow is not there, hang on a second. This will be easier. Okay. Oh, wait a second. Let me just do this. Share. Okay, can you see it all there?
Yep.
Okay, good. So this will be easier over here. And let me move you guys out of the way. When I keep saying I'm moving you out of the way, it's my bar that gets in the way. Okay, so what happens is this is what I see. Just give me a second. Okay, there we go. Now, you guys were still in the way. This is what I see. Okay, we know this is all water. Okay. I see a break of shapes. So I see a shape here. Okay, I see another shape here. Oop, look at this. We got a little bit of a tangent happening there too. Got a shape here. Look at now, start looking at the shapes, not the objects. Okay, look at that triangle. Look at that triangle. Look at this wedgy shape right here. This comes over and there. Look at this lovely line that's here. And I can see through it. So it's subtle, but I've got a whole load of different middle value colors of, you know, I've got some blues. So, you know, if I wanted to start naming colors I would definitely use something that had greens in it and blues in it. I'd throw in some things that had some warm colors in here. So I'm seeing a whole load of shapes in here. So all of a sudden this wedge of what could be looked at as just being blue, okay, becomes a whole load of different little shapes, okay? And I go under here. Okay, now you can see the edge. Look at this gorgeous edge. Let's see. Oh, here. Okay, let me. I don't know why this is okay. I'm not really sure why that's not moving the way it normally does. But anyway, right in here. Look at all this in here. God, you could go crazy. Oh, look at that down there. See, I got all these little shapes. So what happened with this is, let me come back out again. Okay. What was just water now becomes a combination of kind of hard edges here, soft edges, lost edges, subtleties, subtle change of color, okay, value, or I should say value, subtle change of value that's happening here. So, and this to me kept the viewers into the painting up here. If this was just all blue water, okay, you just have all blue water, you're not compelled to come back up, okay? A shift, it's almost as if it's a, you know, a path. Okay, so now I have a path and I'm coming back in and look at all the fun you could have in here. The light's coming here, the light's there. Oops, hitting the shade, that's in shade. Look at that nice little wedge in there. So if you'll look at the shapes that are, or the, well, I'm gonna explain this, the shapes or the masses. Okay, this is the way I interpret shapes and masses. Shapes are individual shapes. Okay, these guys all act independently. Okay, independent. Shape, there's a shape, there's a shape. Okay, this area back here can act as a mass because if I look here and you can squint your eyes and look at the photograph, there's a lot of very similar values, very close value range in this area. We're not looking at that right there. We're just looking at this dock right here in the boats. This part of the boat's a little darker, that little bit's a little darker value, same value, similar value, similar. Look at all that. That's a mass. This, when you draw, can become one big mass because with the exception of like the motors, which are slightly darker value, and the edge of that boat and the underside of the dock, everything else is a very close value. Even this is a close value. Actually, you can move into the boat. I mean, and this foreground boat is similar value, but I would keep that one separate anyway. So this is what I consider a mass, is when individual shapes merge together to create a mass. And I do it primarily through value. Okay, very similar value. Same thing happened with the boats back here. okay, I would not be drawing each of these boats independently. They're a mass. They can work together, okay? Here, I would want things to get, okay, sorry, I'll stop talking. Yes.
I have
someone has a
I have
question?
I have a couple questions,
Yeah,
Betsy, for
yeah.
someone who's a less skilled painter. And when you enlarge a little bit, one could crop it just above that dock behind the motorboat and have a really simple scene where
Absolutely,
you
yeah.
just had and that would be a very different type of painting.
absolutely,
where
absolutely. So
you,
here,
um,
look at
yeah.
this.
Exactly. And now you have that beautiful shape kind of coming in as a triangle. Okay.
Yeah, so,
Um,
and you've kept some of
and
those same components that I talked about. You've still got
Yep.
the, I'm just gonna hit save for just a moment. Okay,
Yep.
so we don't lose that. Oops, did I say so we don't lose it? Okay, there it is, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what's happened here, this wedge keeps you in, you're still seeing the subtleties.
Mhm.
You know, this, I mean, I just cropped it quickly, I think I'd be a little careful about this being right smack in the middle. I measure the distance here. I mean, not with a ruler, just with my eyes,
Yeah.
here and here. Yeah, I kind of plunked this guy right smack in the middle. Okay, so maybe I'd crop it a
Yeah.
little bit differently if I was taking my
And I
time.
think
But
you
yes,
need a
you
little
did.
bit-
But
yeah.
you're still going to do the same thing with the masses. Instead of getting
Yeah.
tied in with all the details of the insides of these boats back there, look at how close in
Yeah.
value everything is right through here. So you can actually plan this out in terms of these guys all working together because their values, they're all
Mhm.
very medium light. I mean, they're all very light values that are happening there.
If you did a note, so a couple more questions, that beautiful blue triangle on the left, probably, yeah, you'd probably want to recrop it so it's a little bit bigger because it's such a key theme. But if you were to do a noton of this, especially if you go back to the original composition, I would think that large blue, dark blue triangle on the left would be a really important part of that noton, correct?
This one right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't change the size of that too much.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
if you were going to move the boat, you'd have to move the boats up. Otherwise, it'd be cutting across here. But yeah, you can play around with that. Now, hang on a second with the NOTAM because I'm going to stop share again because I have the paper here set up for that in particular.
Okay.
So were you reading my mind, Lisa?
Yeah, and I do have one more question. The rope,
Yeah.
do you think the rope on the right, which is kind of an interesting lead-in, is necessary, or would you just have the single rope coming out of the bow?
I'd have the single rope. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean I wouldn't draw it with both ropes in there, but I probably would just have
Yeah.
the single rope.
It simplifies it.
For me, the lead in really was the water, not the rope. And that does really cut the painting in half. So I probably wouldn't. So here, I'm
Okay.
going to put this here and I'm going to put the junky photograph right here. So you can see it. So look at how dark that photograph is. Look at how dark that photograph is compared to what we were just looking at online. Okay. We've got a ton of really crisp edges. We've lost that beauty in here. We see none of this down here. There's the edge of the rocks there, all that beauty that I saw underneath. We can hardly see a difference here. So this photograph I'm putting there as a guide so that you can see it, but I also have my iPad over here, so I'll be looking at that. And this is what I would do for NOTAM, okay? First thing, hang on, let me just get this in. Okay, now I can see it. Okay. And some of you have seen this before. Okay, take a sheet of paper. Automatically, well, I mean, I know this is not proportional to what I'm going to be doing, but I'm just doing quick little sketches. It's going to be a little harder to explain doing it. okay, mass of lights. I'm drawing all the lights. I'm coming in, I've got the boat, I've got the edge of the boat, I'm coming back. Okay, the motor is dark, coming across. Look at the edge of that boat goes to the bottom of that. I'm coming over, I'm doing it like a puzzle. Okay, now there's that boat that I want that's dark. So I'm gonna put that boat there so I don't forget that he's there. Coming in here, coming across, coming over, and somebody has their, we can hear a conversation. So if people would just check their, okay. Okay, and I am looking at the photograph. And then I had also this area. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, anything that is dark. I would do this as just quick little sketches. What I would do is I would do a real no-tan when I had the, okay, and I've got the back up here. Okay, and that's all dark there. I got a little bit of a reflection right there. This guy comes across there. I have a little bit of dark there. I would not consider the reflection in the water to be dark. The reason for that is, okay, if we have a no-tan, okay, it's the balance of light and dark. And these dark values here, if I was going to add this right in here, and this right here, oh, look at the way that brings that back in again. Okay, so you see the difference without that there. So if you were considering it by bringing this in, I could do it here. I don't want it to be dark. Okay, so I don't want to go really dark with that area there, but I could just kick it right into this section so that it's a little bit darker. The other thing that happens with a no-tan, which this I'm just doing rather quickly, usually I do it off of a value sketch, is a no-tan does not have to go from white to black. I can use any range in here I want. So if I decide I want to go, my no-tan go from here to there, then the midline is going to be about there. And if you know, I'll go over that more, you know, if in class or another time, that's not an issue, but look up no-tans. So I have this design. I can see that. Now I'm going to go in, I'm going to do a few more here. That's the underside here. I've got a little bit of a reflection that's there. Okay, I got a little bit there. I've got my boat, and I haven't left enough room for my boat over here in this little sketch, but that's okay. It's just a little sketch. A little bit of reflection here. This guy here, he went all the way up. So now I look at that and I say, okay, I got another dark area here. Slightly dark. Okay, the only reason this shows up is because I have a reflection here. So I am going to do that. I'm not putting the motor. The motor is an embellishment. I'm not going to start putting the inside of the boats in and all that other jazz. Okay. I do not want this to be a ridge here, so I am stopping it right there. And that gives me that edge there. I'm not so sure I'm crazy about that, to tell you the truth. And I'll tell you why. Tell you the truth of it. Okay. One, the sketch didn't fit the whole thing, so that didn't help there to start with. Two, this shape right here is not actually working the way I wanted it to. So what I would do in my sketch, this is where I would make notes. Okay, here Okay, so when I do my value sketch here, this is a no tan. And normally I do a value sketch first. When I do my value sketch here, what I want to do is I want to look at the reflections. And I want to decide, you know, how light or dark they are. Because what'll happen is that'll help this boat stand out in and on the water, as opposed to looking as though I've pasted it on the water. So this is going to take a lot more drawing this boat right here than doing just this little quickie here. But that idea of coming in and having this diagonal is working. This here is not working. So this area here, I think I would extend some of the dark back a little bit there. And I would play around with the dark there. The edge of the boat right there will be fine. That's fine. This wedge there, over, boat there. So a quickie, it tells me what it is I want to do. I would not, some of you have seen me before when I divide this in quarters and I decide, I want this painting to be more light than dark. And I would look at each of the corners. This is just a preliminary sketch. What did I spend, like 2 minutes drawing it? So I'm not going to spend the time on that. But what I would do is I would do the value sketch. I would focus in on this reflection. That's going to be one of the key pieces, this area right in here, boat and reflection. Make a decision on how dark or light the different areas need to be so that I don't lose this lovely shape in here. And I do like this shape. I would not have that foreground, that background right here. I would not make that dark because I want that to be pushed off. I would not make this dark either. That's why I didn't even draw it. If I was going to take and draw it for you now, this is where the boats are right here. That's the land. There's the land in the distance. And see, here's the rest of the shapes in there. So the boat is right here. Okay, all the different little shapes start to show up once I start to draw. So these no tans are super handy. But this at least tells me, am I working on the right path for that idea of, look at this, I've got dark against light, against dark, against light, against dark. And look at these shapes back here, start big here. They're getting smaller. Well, that's not. Smaller dark areas and even smaller in the background, which is the way, what I would be looking for to make that feel as though I'm pushing it off. Now I'm really excited about doing this painting. Oh, I do. I like that idea. Hopefully you could see that well enough. Now, if you want to know, and this is not an infomercial, but if you want to know more about no tans, if you go to my YouTube page, I do have a YouTube video that shows how I moved from a value sketch to a no tan to a painting. Okay. And maybe what I'll do is I'll put the link to that in. Oh, yeah. See, that is working out. See, I put the little lines in there. I've gotten better at, working out of my working reverse here. I feel like that shape, that looks good. That'd be nice. Do you see that movement? Okay, so that's where that whole personal, I really wanted to show not a strong movement. And that's going to show up by value. Start off with your value in your no tan, and that's going to direct you towards a much stronger painting. So when I'm down to choosing my colors, anything that's falling in the dark zone here is going to fall when I decide which range I'm doing. But let's say I was doing the whole thing from dark to light here. Everything in the dark area is going to be this value. Anything in the light area is going to be this value. So you don't lose your dramatic sense, and you can change that. Okay, any questions? Hopefully that was helpful, considering I had no idea what I was going to be doing today.
Okay.
Good. Okay, so now I'm going to have to paint this, right?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Be looking forward to seeing it.
Yes, yes. Well, and like I said, it's that train of thought. So I was in a funk. I was tired, my brain was stuck on other stuff today. So, okay, just something new, get in there. It's a great way as if you feel like you're in a slump or you don't know what you're doing. Holy moly. I mean, I talked a lot doing this, but the reality of it is how much time do you really spend? And then I get to the end of this and I'm really excited to think that this will work. This will be fun. I will enjoy doing that. And actually I dropped the boat a little bit in that sketch since I was just kind of doing it quickly. And this is not the cropped photograph, that's the original photograph. So the cropped photograph, we did take off some of the bottom here. Any questions or comments?
Looks good.
I liked it a lot.
Good. But there's the test, truthfully. Even if you do it quickly, if I did that and said, oh, geez, I'm not going to spend, 10 hours on a painting, if I don't like the sketch. So I'm a firm believer in prep work, because if you don't like your prep work, guess what? You're probably not going to like your painting either, even if you love the photograph. So any sort of prep work that makes sense to you, sketching, value sketching, no tans, color studies, anything at all like that, it's just like a fabulous way to just kickstart yourself and play around, change things up a little bit. Okay, so trying to think if there's any news. People that are on the Cape, the signature members show for the pastel painters of Cape Cod's going to be where the paintings are being collected over this weekend, and the show is going to start next weekend at the Chatham Creative Arts Center, and it's going to be up for close to a month, so that'll be nice. I'm not sure if I'm going to make it to the opening night, but I will be up to see the show, so that'll be great. Falmouth Arts Center has their juried show, so if you're down in that end, that's nice to see. And the Cultural Center has a show that features color, which I thought, oh, that's great. Well, good thing I got something in it, because otherwise. You will recognize, anyone in my Cultural Center class, you will recognize the painting that actually got in that show. And that opens the end of September, I believe. So, it's that busy season of shows is going to start coming to an end. Right around October, we start seeing, a lessening of the juried shows. So lots to look at. And of course, a lot of these are online too, which is really nice. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. And I will, put that link for that other YouTube video in the follow-up email. And I will have saved this, and hopefully the beginning part of it's at least easy to see. So, well, thank you. Okay, some of you I'll be seeing next week.
Very much.
If you have any questions, for anyone who is in the Cultural Center class and the Falmouth Arts Center class, I did add in another date, so you're going to be getting an email from either Amy or Laura about adding in an extra date. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks so
We'll
much.
see you all soon. Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
a lot.
Betsy.
Bye,
Okay,
Betsy.
Bye. Bye-bye.
I'll have to figure out how to get my face on the Kathleen.
Oh, yeah, it's somewhere,
I have no
somewhere
idea.
there, Kathleen.
Betsy, did you get my painting?
Yes, I did get your painting. Yes, I did.
Oh.
I have it.
I will pick it up on Wednesday then, right?
Yes,
Class?
yes.
Okay.
On Wednesday, yes. Falmouth starts live. I alternated the week, so Falmouth is live this week.
Okay.
Cultural Centers. Yep, I'll bring it. Oh my God.
All right.
Send
All
me
right.
a
I'll be
reminder.
there. I'm
Send me
looking
a
forward to
reminder.
seeing you. Okay. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.